are you? Did they beat you up or no? Lock you underground, take the crown away from you?
Oh, Lady Liberty, red, white, and blue. Did they take your dignity with their bigotry? Teach you that you're born to lose.
Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you break,
We've had enough
of all the money you make.
We've had enough
No more life gets taken.
We've had enough.
This is a proclamation.
It's been 400 years and we're 400 late. Together we stand from state to state. Going back in time won't make America great. We need justice now, people won't wait.
Action, no more distraction. Every step we take, we gain traction. If it can happen to one, it can happen to all. United we stand, divided we fall. Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you were breaking.
We've had enough
Of all the money you were making.
We've had enough
No more life gets taken.
We've had enough
This is a proclamation. Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. You better believe, just roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you're breaking.
We've had enough
All the money you're making.
We've had enough
No more life gets taken.
We've had enough
This is the proclamation. We've had enough. Trayvon Martin and Tommy Rice. We've had enough. Michael Brown and Eric gonna pay the price. We've had enough. Philando, Breonna, George Floyd.
What?
We've had enough. So many gone. How can we fill the void?
How can we feel
We had enough.
void?
John Crawford, I know you've heard. We've had enough. Sandra Bland, come on and take a stand. We've had enough. Sean Bell,
Sean Bell.
what the hell? We've had enough. Freddie Gray, did you hear what I said? We've had enough. This is a proclamation.
I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. We are excited that we continue to have this marvelous platform here at KFAI to talk to you, to engage you, to bring what we call robust conversation. Well, today is no exception. We're going to be having as guest my colleague and a friend, John Wilgers. He's president and CEO of the Greater Twin Cities United Way. And one of his team members will be joining us as well to talk about an important event coming up in the next couple of days. And that is the Together We Thrive event on May 6th. It's a free virtual event that features community change makers. It features bold ideas and brings forth equitable solutions to address systemic racism and oppression in the Greater Twin Cities area. And also, Melissa, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Thank you, Al. How are you?
I'm so good and glad to have you on the call as well.
Thank you.
Let me go to John first. John, good morning, good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon.
Let's do Together We Thrive 101. What is this valuable resource and opportunity?
Right. So like you said, we have Together We Thrive coming up this Thursday night. It's been an event that we have, probably been planning longer than we usually plan events because we weren't able to do one last year. We were all very new into this virtual world and still trying to figure out how to do events like this, but we're doing it on Thursday night. It'll actually be a hybrid event where we broadcast live from US Bank Stadium Most of our speakers and participants will be there. And as you said, participation will be virtual. We have already over 1,000 people who have registered to attend the event. And we're looking forward to it. The event will focus, well, the the events of the last 14 months have helped us really narrow and really refine the focus of this event. When you look back at the impact of the pandemic, when you look at the murder of George Floyd, you look at the resulting civil unrest, the political divide, what all of those events have done is highlight for us and for the community what we really already knew, and that was the really disproportionate impact that events like that or otherwise has on Black and people of color in our community. And so this event is really focused on racial inequities and the systemic racism that exists that results in these deep and long-standing disparities in our community. So that will be the topic of the evening, and we'll be addressing that topic in a number of different ways.
Melissa Caldwell, so good to see you, and thank you for your work as part of the team at Greater Twin Cities United Way. And as a matter of disclosure, I want to, and I said this before, let people know that I'm a member of the board of directors of the Greater Twin Cities United Way. And I'm actually a proud member, but to make it more plain and more clear, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be in the room and at the table with what I call a bunch of smart people from every sector of our community. The United Way board is diverse and becoming more diverse as we speak. And as an organization, it's demonstrating what it means to be intentional in facing tough questions of equity and equality, of justice and of dignity. And it's examining both what its successes have been and where it may have missed the mark in the past, and facing that with a degree of humility and introspection that I believe is both critical, necessary, and invaluable for the organization to be what it's becoming, and that is an agent for creating community and delivering on the proposition that together we thrive. So listen, guys, I'm so glad to be with you here and glad to take this time here on KFAI and on our networks, our platforms, to promote the event coming up this week. Let me mention also that of late, in the past couple of weeks, we've been connected to the Black Press of America. This show is being streamed not only on our local platforms of YouTube and Facebook, but we are now being streamed simultaneously to Black America through the Facebook channel of Black Press USA, NNPA. That is the Facebook page of the organization that I'm a member of, National Newspaper Publishers Association, and we're great to have this affiliation to expand this conversation almost globally. Well, Melissa, talk about the things that are going to be happening as part of this wonderful event, Together We Thrive.
Yeah, thank you, Al, for having us. As John mentioned, it's this Thursday, May 6th. We will be going live at 6:30 p.m. from US Bank Stadium. We have a phenomenal lineup of speakers that will be joining us. Our Together We Thrive chairs, our president and CEO, Beth Ford from Land O'Lakes. We also have President Joan Gable from the University of Minnesota, and Commissioner of the Big Ten Conference, Kevin Warren. The three of them will be participating and doing and having a conversation with our event MC, Angela Davis of NPR News. Additionally, we will have four-time WNBA champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, Maya Moore from the Minnesota Lynx, who is currently on sabbatical from her WNBA career to focus her time and attention on advancing justice within the criminal justice system. There's been a lot of activity happening leading up to Together We Thrive across our community. We have had hundreds of volunteers who have been volunteering at home by packing culturally specific meal kits for our local neighbors. in partnership with CAPI, Clues, and North Point Health and Wellness. So we will be recapping that wonderful volunteer project that's been taking place, along with a community mural that we engaged voices of our community over the last several weeks to lift up voices to come to life in a vibrant community mural that will be unveiled at Together We Thrive. And we are also bringing back our Community Impact Accelerator, which is where 3 nonprofits will share the wonderful work that they are doing and new projects that they're working to get lifted off the ground. And anyone attending Together We Thrive will have the opportunity to vote during the event for their favorite project, and we will be handing out $100,000 in grant funding that evening to these 3 organizations. So,
holy Moses, as they say, that's a lot of money. Tell me that excites me. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so our 3 finalists are Anda Young Center, Division of Indian Work, and Ujamaa Place. All 3 organizations have phenomenal work happening as we speak, and they will be zeroing in on specific projects that are currently in the works. I should mention too, the Community Impact Accelerator is in partnership with Boston Consulting Group, and the winning organization will also receive full support from a team at Boston Consulting Group to get their project lifted off the ground and to provide strategic supports and inputs as they bring that project to life. So during the event, you'll see a video from each organization about the great work that they're doing. And then we will pause for a minute and listen to live music from our DJ as people vote right there on our Together We Thrive websites. You can cast your votes for your favorite organization. All the money raised for the Community Impact Accelerator goes back into the community for the great work that's happening.
Melissa, we should mention that all of the organizations will receive a grant. The first place organization will get $40,000. The other 2 will get $30,000 each. So I didn't want people to think they're going to vote to the exclusion of everybody. Everybody will receive a grant. The top voter will get the highest, as well as the consulting support from the Boston Consulting Group.
That's correct. Yep. And this is the second time we've done this. We did this back in 2018 in our first year of Together We Thrive, and the audience absolutely loved it. So we're really looking forward.
I was there. It was phenomenal. It was just a good feeling event because the candidates there all had compelling arguments, cases, presentations, and they all delivered just supremely engaging presentations about why they should win. And the beauty is there was no losing. Everybody losing. And that's, I think, foundational. So it's a wonderful thing.
That's correct. I'm going to keep their projects a secret for Together We Thrive, but I will tell you the voting is going to be hard. So as Al said, all 3 projects are phenomenal. They all do great work, and we're absolutely thrilled that they're joining us for Together We Thrive.
So let me drill down for our listeners here at KFAI and those who might be watching us from anywhere else in the country. If you want to be part of selecting one of these 3 to receive, first, second, or third place award, how do you do it? Say you're going to be in Brooklyn Center or in South Minneapolis, and you show up online. What happens? How do you actually get your vote, and how do you support? I mean, I think the voting also supports the organization. How does that work?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're registered to attend the event, and you can do that at uwthrive.org. And you create an account and register. It takes less than a minute to do so. Very user-friendly. And this is the same place that you will watch the event on Thursday, May 6th. When you're logged in during the event and this segment is happening, right below your screen, you'll see a big vote button. You'll be cued by our speakers presenting the segment. You simply click that vote button. Very easy. You allocate your votes. Each vote is a $10 donation. And as you mentioned, yes, this money does go back to support the great work happening across our community. And each person can cast up to 10 votes. And so after you see the videos of the 3 organizations, you click that vote button. It's very quick. It takes you through the process and you cast your votes. But make sure that you are registered to attend the event. You do need to be registered in order to watch it.
And so I'm hoping people look at this as a good way to spend $100 and come prepared to vote 10 times and have fun and really know that what you're doing is having a direct and positive effect on our community that you're supporting, both service and entrepreneurship and ideation, supporting voices from within the community that are committed to serving the community and to, like you, committed to building a better future for all of us here. Melissa, you're also bringing, I think, the Social Justice Leadership Award this time. Tell me about that.
Yes, brand new with our partnership with the 3M Open. We will be launching the Social Justice Leadership Award presented by the 3M Open and Greater Twin Cities United Way. That award will be an annual award, and it is to recognize a leader in our community that is on the front lines of social activism work that is driving equity across our community. These are future-focused visionary leaders. I know we have a lot of them across our community, and we will be announcing that the start of the nomination process that night at Together We Thrive. There will be more information available, but nominations will be opening up this summer. And later this fall, we will be recognizing a leader from our community through this award. And they will also be receiving a grant as well to the organization that they either work for or volunteer their time for. So we're really excited to launch that award and bring that to life.
So, John, thank you for, again, what you're doing to lead the organization. I'd like you to take some time explaining where we're going as an organization, what and how, what the mission is evolving towards, and how we're taking the steps we're taking to maintain relevance, right? And to provide genuine, authentic engagement in the mutual work of building community.
Yep.
And that's a big open-ended question, so you can flow any way you want to with that. So I just want you to talk and just what's on your mind and heart.
Well, I several things, Al. I would say certainly, when I joined United Way 18 months ago, and I had involvement with it over a period of time. But when I joined, one of the really exciting things I saw was a even stronger commitment to equity and inclusion that was growing in the organization, and to be able to take that commitment and now everything we do, whether we're talking about events like Thrive or whether we're talking about a number of the innovation initiatives that we have in process, or our multi-year grants that we do, or our advocacy agenda, whatever we do, we're doing it through a robust equity lens, and it's exciting to always have that be our guiding principle. It's become even more exciting this year. I mean, this year, like no other, we've seen this need for change amplified, and it feels like it's got the attention of people that like maybe it never has before. And so that's exciting too. But it comes with a real obligation on the part of, well, everyone, community leaders, businesses, Greater Twin Cities United Way, and other organizations to not let this moment pass us by, and to realize the role that all of us play. That's one of the things I really like about Together We Thrive. When we talk to Kevin Warren and President Gable, and when we talk to Beth Ford from Land O'Lakes, some of the questions that they're going to be asked is, what are they doing to drive equity in their own organizations? And what systems are they most focused on changing? And how do they think they can impact these things as a community or business or education leader? And so I think people stepping forward and making the kind of individual and organizational commitments like we're going to hear them talk about is really, really important.
And so, again, where do we go? We, as a community and as a country, are under tremendous stress right now. I've described it as not only the confluence of the COVID-19 pandemic and all the things associated with that, the disruption, but I say added to that what I've described as the pandemic of 1492, or 1619. And that obviously is referring to the clash of culture of white expansion, of European expansion into the New World, and the subsequent demise of indigenous people, the genocide, in effect, that erased the civilizations that were here. And then you added to that the transatlantic slave trade, the importation of millions of Africans as enslaved labor. And what are the consequences of that from that point through the Civil War, the end of slavery in the US, the end of slavery in Latin America, and the end of slavery, transportation, in the Atlantic. All of those things through today, we're still struggling and dealing with the legacy. And so where does it take us as a community, John, and how do we see our focus on dismantling racism being one of the tools to bring about fairness, equity, a resolution to the, the crises that we're looking at now that are converging? What do you think?
Well, I like the way you I like the way you frame that up, Al. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I mentioned, it's taken us 400 years, to get to where we are today, and finally, it feels like the time is now, I don't want the last year. I don't want to say the last year has been opportunistic, because it's been awful. But if the result of the last year is to get all of us to realize the time is now, and that it takes us working together, all of us working together, as we say, change makers, to try to solve a problem that none of us can solve on our own, that'll be a big deal. And I do think it takes all of us working together. This isn't something that can be led by a particular group or a particular organization. It's going to take every group and every organization working together to drive this change. People are going to have to be committed to learning. People are going to have to be committed to discomfort, because a lot of the learning and the conversations that need to happen are not easy, comfortable confirmations. So you've got to commit to being okay with being uncomfortable, and you have to commit to doing your part. And all of us will have to figure out what the part is. But like I said, it's when we all come together, that's when we'll be able to move this along. And it won't be fast, and we probably won't do it perfectly, Al. But doing it is better than not. And so I think that's the commitment we all have to have.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. My guest, John Wilders, who's president and CEO of the Greater Twin Cities United Way, and Melissa Caldwell. And Melissa is the director of volunteers, I think, volunteer operations, right? And events. Director of Volunteer United and events at the Greater Twin Cities United Way. And so, John, you and I are guys of a certain age. I'm a little older than you, I think, but we both are on the older end of the spectrum. But I'm looking at Melissa and looking to her voice as a representative of a generation after the two of us. And so, Melissa, I'm going to throw you in the conversation. I know you've got to leave in about 4 or 5 minutes. And before I wanted you to talk about the conversation that these two old guys are having, John and Al, are talking about how we see change in the world, and how does it feel from the vantage point of a young woman who is white. What do you think? And if I'm putting you on the spot, I know you can handle it.
No, that's okay, Al. Thank you. I mean, I agree 100%. It's not just one organization, one person, one group of people. It takes everyone to come together, and everybody is on a different point in their own journeys. And, just being open to having tough conversations. And learning about others that might not be exactly the same as you, and really understanding what role you can play in community to make a difference. And it doesn't have to be something huge, right? I mean, even little things that we do day to day, and making a commitment to just learning and understanding others and listening, and how all those pieces fit together, and the power that exists when people do come together from different backgrounds, different experiences, different voices, and bringing those perspectives together can create, a huge amount of change. And so it has been a very tough year, but we have a lot of work to do. And I believe that it's everyone's responsibility to own the work that they have to do and put the hard work in. And I'm just, grateful I get to be part of an organization like Greater Twin Cities United Way, and every single day work with the community and learn from the community.
So talk about juxtaposition arts for a second.
Sure.
That's the youth, or I'll bring it down to the generation after you or so. And these are kids, right? And then I also want you to talk a bit about our prestigious organization, right? Putting air quotes up, hiring a DJ Advance. I think that's radical. I think it's really cool. So talk about how United Way is hiring a DJ to promote and do the music for this fundraising event.
Yeah, DJ Advance will be joining us. He will be live at US Bank Stadium as well, providing entertainment as people are logging on, as well as we move through the program. And when you're voting, he'll be entertaining you with his live music, and as well as people who want to stay on when the event is over and end their night listening to music wherever they may be tuning in. So he is thrilled to be part of this event and the lineup of speakers that we have. And we have not done a DJ approach yet for our entertainment, so we're very excited about that. With Juxtaposition Arts, yes, you're correct. It is an organization in North Minneapolis that works with young adults and teenagers. And the mural that we're putting together that will be unveiled at Together We Thrive, it is called Your Voice, Your Impact. So kind of what I was just talking about earlier, we all have a voice, we all have our own personal experiences. And for the past several weeks, anyone in our community could participate online and respond to a series of prompts, whether that be through written word, sketches, photos that they might take in their home or their neighborhoods or their community. And we essentially sent these collective responses over to the team at Juxtaposition Arts. And the lead artist, Greta, worked with the apprentices at Juxtaposition, these young adults and teenagers that are learning about art, how to create art. And they essentially synthesize the responses to then integrate into this mural that will be unveiled at Together We Thrive. So it was a really fun process to work with them. We actually we collaborated with the team at Juxtaposition to actually build out that online experience. This was the first time they had ever created art in this way, where people, were online and from their homes and remotely, adding their perspectives, adding their voices, adding information about experiences they may have had in the community. And then we take all that together to then produce this mural through these wonderful young adults who were working on the art.
That's so wonderful. I know you've got to leave in a couple of minutes, but before you do, if people can people participate in person at the stadium or not? Is that only the invited or the program people?
Unfortunately, not yet, right? We're not quite there. We hope next year we will all be together at US Bank Stadium, but you can tune in anywhere. It's a free event. Again, if you're not registered, please go to uwthrive.org. Takes less than a minute to create your account and register. You'll be all set for the night of. But no, we can't have people there in person quite yet. But I think it's on the horizon.
It's a pretty big venue for the 30 of us that'll be there in person. We'll have plenty of room.
Yeah.
You sure will. Well, last question, and then I'm going to continue with John. How do people become volunteers? How do you get people to volunteers, listeners? And if people want to give money to support either United Way or organizations that United Way supports, how do they show up and show their financial support for this work?
Sure. Well, you can reach out to us at any time if you're interested in volunteering. I'll suggest one or two different ways. You can email us at volunteerunited at gtcuw.org, or you can go onto our website, gtcuw.org, and click the volunteer page. We currently have, I believe, 6 to 8 projects that are live as we speak, where you can volunteer at home as we are still in the pandemic. There will be in-person opportunities though coming in August, so stay tuned through our Action Day. We will have limited in-person volunteer opportunities available down at Allianz Field for our annual Action Day. But again, just go to our website, gtcuw.org, find our volunteer page, and you can get signed up to participate right now if you're interested. To make a donation, you can also donate on our website as well. Or if you want to support the work that we'll be highlighting at Together We Thrive, there will be an opportunity to donate during the event as well. And you can even donate when you sign up. So all of that is open at our uwthrive.org website as well.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Good to see you again, and continued success in all that you do.
Thank you so much, Al. It's great to be with you today.
Okay, I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. I'm going to continue a few minutes more with John Wilgers. John, thank you. And you let me know when you got to leave. I've got another guest that's sort of standing by for the next part of the program. But thank you for being here, and thank you for what you're doing with the organization. So talk about, if you would, what we're doing now, and I say we because I want to remind people that I'm part of the team as a director of the Greater Twin Cities United Way. What are we doing now to continue to stir up, to foment the spirit, the knowledge of equity? And I'm thinking about the event, I think it was either last Tuesday or the Tuesday before. We had an equity event, part of a series, and a speaker. Talk about that. I couldn't stay for the entire program because it started at 12:30, I think, and I had to leave in time to do this show. Right. But a fascinating presentation.
Yeah. So, we're like I said earlier, Al, we're committed to equity in our organization and also outside of our organization. And so we have a number of programs that have gone on with our employees, but the one you're talking about is one that we kicked off primarily for our board of directors. Okay. And working with our board of directors, who, like everybody else, is depending upon what their history is and what organization they're with, they're at some point on this journey. And so we kicked off what will be a 10-month program around racial reckoning. And we've engaged a woman who works in this space, has for 30 plus years. Her name is Mary Frances Winters. She's from the Winters Group. We had worked with her a little bit before, and she's written a number of books. Her most recent book is Black Fatigue, and it is a really interesting book that talks about how being Black, and not just being Black over the last year. So certainly the impact has been more significant over the last year, but how exhausting it is to live as a Black person in our community, and how that also manifests itself in a number of health and other related disparities. Okay. And so that's kind of the focus of her book, Black Fatigue. And so she did a keynote presentation to kick off this education journey for our board, where she talked on her book, Black Fatigue. And our board was there. Our leaders from our organization were there, as well as several other guests were there, and engaged in both a good presentation but healthy dialogue around some of the topics as well. That will continue on with a number of additional presentations and workshops. There'll be a 90-day racial reckoning challenge that will include a series of readings and podcasts and workshops that go throughout the 90 days. So I like to say that it's providing space for people to learn. It's providing space for people to think. And at the end, it's going to provide space for people to figure out how they're going to respond and act. And a number of sessions for smaller groups to get together and share how they've been impacted by the series and what they're doing, what their part is going to be as they move forward. That'll be happening over 10 months.
John, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I'm going to have you do the final invitation to our audiences here in Twin Cities and around the country to support and to participate in Together We Thrive.
Yeah, it's a good point around the country, right? A virtual event you can attend from anywhere. So yeah, Together We Thrive this Thursday night. It will be broadcast live from US Bank Stadium here in Minneapolis, virtually across the Twin Cities and across the country. So you can register at our website or www.thrive.com. And that'll be, you'll get downloaded the registration link, which then will give you all the opportunities to participate, whether it is voting on our Impact Accelerator Awards or making a contribution or whatever you decide to do with the evening. So this Thursday night, May 5th.
Cool. Let me introduce you to someone before you leave. My next guest is Sam Collins. He's joining us from Galveston, Texas. And I had a chance to interview him yesterday for the program. I was so floored by the power of his presentation. I invited him back to talk more today. Sam Collins, let me introduce you to John Wilgers, who's the CEO, president of Greater Twin Cities United Way. And Sam and I are going to talk more, John, about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is becoming more and more a national day of observation out of the Black experience. And Sam has particular knowledge by his residence in Galveston, Texas, about the events that we celebrate now as Juneteenth. And Sam, my conversation with John Wilgers just now really focused on the idea of being change agents, how organizations like the United Way can be at the forefront of creating systemic change, of bringing to our community and to the world, right? The kind of equity and prosperity that we all desire and envision. So, John, thank you for being here, first of all, and we'll see you later. And Sam, let's talk to you now.
Sam, it was good to meet
John.
you.
Nice meeting you, John.
Thank you, John. So
Sam,
Sam,
my sound good, Al?
You sound perfect, and right. We are glad to have you back again. So I was so excited about what you said about Galveston, Texas, and about the story. And what I didn't get a chance yesterday to do, Sam, was to have you talk more about your personal story. Several of the people on our call yesterday, I asked them to tell their personal lineage. Maybe you did, I can't remember now, but I wanted to ask you to go with that again and talk about, how you come to this work personally through your lineage. Because the thing I want to remember is that for all of us, this is not theoretical. It's not a question of something to look at and study as if it's, a classroom assignment. This has to do with our bones and our blood and the lives of our grandparents and great-grandparents. One of the sisters on the program yesterday talked about how her family, 6 people in her family had been lynched. I think that was in Mississippi, and my family is from Mississippi, my mom's side, and my grandfather, that just reminded me, was murdered, poisoned to death in Mississippi. And so, and I knew my grandmother's mother when I was a kid. I got a picture of me at 4 years old, and she was probably 99 or 100. And it hit me some years later. when I look at that photograph of her, that she was born the property of other human beings. And when I think about that, it knocks me out and it makes me mad. And I can't get over it, and I have to be committed to never again shall we be enslaved. And that doesn't mean that we've achieved freedom yet. That's what we're fighting about. So Juneteenth is one of the inflection points, the flash points, the hallmarks of our incessant drive for freedom. So I'm going to drop it on you, just what's on your mind.
Yeah,
move your camera a little bit to your other way. There we go. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So I was trying not to get too emotional as you were speaking, because I'm sitting here, not in Galveston, but in Hitchcock, which is close to Galveston, on the porch of a property that used to be owned by a Confederate soldier that me and my wife bought on approximately 10 acres. So as you were speaking, I'm thinking about my great grandmother and others that cleaned the homes like this and did the domestic work. And I remember, as you were talking as a child, riding with my grandmother to take her mother to houses to clean in different cities. She worked for different people. And for us to come back to this community and buy the most historic property and structure in our city that was once owned by a Confederate soldier, but it's a unique story even with that Confederate soldier, Henry Morton Stringfellow. After the war was over, he set up his orchard in Galveston, but the former enslaved people, when his orchard became successful, he moved over to Hitchcock because he needed more land. He paid all the men $1 a day when everybody else was paying 50 cents a day, and some people were using convict labor. Mm-hmm. So I often tell people that Stringfellow took the high road because the low road was crowded. To your point, the low road was crowded with people using convict labor, sharecropping, lynchings, black codes, all the negative actions that took place. But here was a soldier that chose to take a different route, and the economic impact of that action is still being felt by descendants that still own property, black descendants from the 30 black men that worked here. And we got the property listed on the National Register in 2013. So it's another twist to the Juneteenth story. So behind me, you see a painting, Juneteenth, 619. And that 65 is not 1965, but 1865. And I propped it like that intentionally. And I was going to go into a room, but I wanted to come out on this porch because we couldn't always sit on the front porch and tell our stories.
Wow.
We couldn't always be free to go through the front door or to own the property. When we first bought the property, I brought my son out here that was about 6. I have 4 children. Mm-hmm. At the time I had 3. I prayed with him and I told him the story of the property, the big house, and the servant quarters. And I said, I'm going to pray, and then I want you to pray. And after I finished praying, my son at 6 years old said a prayer, and he said, thank you, God, for letting us live in the big house. And I had to open my eyes as I was looking. This child at 6 years old had made that connection and said, thank you, God. Mm-hmm. And we began having Juneteenth celebrations at this site in 2006. We haven't done it continuous for 15 years, but we did it as for several years, probably the first 10 years. And then, we had 2008 in there. We had 2009, other challenges. A couple of years it rained on us. But one of the first things I wanted to do after we bought the property is have a Juneteenth celebration. Not as we came and took something from you, but that if given the opportunity, we too could get an education, pursue our dreams, buy a home, make an investment in our community. We wanted to invest in the town where we grew up. This little small town, 7,000-8,000 people, probably was 5,000 when I was growing up, Hitchcock. We wanted to make an investment in the community. And of all the properties in Texas, for this one to have been saved by the universe, for us to buy, and it has not been without a struggle. because we've had to go through the financial collapse. We've had to use retirement, college funds, all of that to try to hold on. And even many in my family think Sam has gone crazy with this property. But I'm trying to tell them, we need to hold on to land because it's so important. So this Juneteenth story of those United States colored troops coming into Galveston, because I want to make sure I say that each time we talk about it,
Yes.
that Gordon Granger was not by himself. 75% of the Union forces that came into Texas.
Before you say that, let me set this up with the right question. I think that too often there's common misinformation, and I'll spell that out, and then you can correct it. I'm setting it up for you to make this layup or this slam dunk, whatever you want to call it.
Alley-oop, here we go.
So too often we think in a way that's based on misinformation that our people abided slavery, we were comfortable in slavery, and that to some degree life was easier to be taken care of. I have a white neighbor who once told me that from her point of view, and I'm taking her to be white people in general, they believed that Africans should consider themselves lucky that white people came to the west coast of Africa, where they were just running around with no clothes on, naked, and captured
uncivilized,
uncivilized, and brought them to North America, where they could learn to be, civilized and to understand what civilization was all about under the tutelage of white people. But it was slavery. And so I think there's this misperception that there was something benevolent about what slavers were doing in possessing us as human beings. And then from that flows this idea that we didn't resist, we didn't fight, and that some of us were even ambivalent about freedom when it came, because it meant we didn't have the skills or the knowledge of how to maintain and fend for ourselves without the oversight of the master class. So they think that Black people just sat and waited, deaf, dumb, and blind, until somebody rode in on a white horse and told them they were free. Not the truth at all.
That's the alley-oop I was looking for. Galveston is an island. So Gordon Granger, for one, did not just ride up into Galveston. He came in by ship. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking in memory and honor of those 30 men that worked at this site to step on the grounds and to share this story, their story with everyone listening. Because as we stand under these oak trees, we have over 30 live oak trees. And if these trees could talk and tell the story of those men. So Gordon Granger was not by himself. Thousands of Union soldiers, many being United States colored troops, came into Galveston, and newspaper reports from a telegraph that went out June 20th, 1865, state that Galveston is now occupied by colored troops there to enforce law and order. So when we hear people talk about law and order today, we don't normally associate a colored troop or Black faces with that. Not on the side of the law. On the side of the criminal is the picture that many people think about. But the truth of the matter was those freedom fighters, those true patriots, were the United States colored troops who, after Lee had surrendered April 9th, which they helped to win the victory at Appomattox, because the Union forces were getting beat back and they were losing until the USCT came in what I would probably consider a nice little trot coming down the road to aid the other Union soldiers. Quick time. They were making quick time to come save the Union. These soldiers saved the United States. It would not be what it is today if the United States colored troops had not taken up arms and fought to save the Union. You know, Harry Jones used to say that often at the African American Civil War Museum. Harry passed a couple of years ago, so I'm not the expert that he was, but I'm standing on the shoulders and I'm studying his material and videos and other things to learn the truth, because there are so many people that have been trying to tell us the truth, but we didn't always want to accept the truth. You know, we until you're willing to accept new information as factual, you can sometimes operate in ignorance, and not necessarily intentionally, but sometimes you're just a little fearful to believe the new information because you've been given something else so long.
Right.
So now, as the narrative of Juneteenth is expanded, the story of individuals like Mr. Stringfellow and Frank Bell, who worked here with him, Frank Bell Sr., his grandchildren and family members are still benefiting off the $1 a day wage that he made. So I often joke about the fact that Hitchcock, Texas is where that saying started. Another day, another dollar. Because they were making $1 a day when people were sharecropping, when the environment was very oppressive with convict labor. Many individuals were being put right back on the same plantations they had been freed from. So now here we are, benefiting from the labor and the work of all those individuals that came before us. So if you have another specific question, but as those soldiers came in, they took over Galveston. They left Galveston and spread throughout all of Texas. Many of them had to go to the southern border of Texas and Mexico because they were trying to secure the border there to make sure none of the Confederates ran, or individuals ran and tried to get away from the United States, taking the enslaved people with them, because they were trying to do that too. Because some people went down to Brazil, because Brazil didn't outlaw slavery until the 1880s. So it was another 20 years there.
So they actually carried slaves with them to Brazil?
Yeah, some individuals moved and took their enslaved people. So the population of the enslaved people in Texas grew from, I believe, 187,000 to over 250,000 between 1860 and 1865, because slave owners continued to run west with their enslaved individuals trying to get away from the Union forces that were, moving down the East Coast and across the South. So they moved their, what they considered inventory, over to Texas, thinking they were far enough west. And so when Lee surrendered in April, many white soldiers mustered out because they had been in the Union Army longer than the black soldiers, because some of them had enlisted earlier. So many of the colored troops were not allowed to enlist until 1863 or 64. Therefore, if they signed a 3-year commitment and they came in 64, they still had a couple of years. So they said, we need soldiers to go to Texas, and they raised their hand and said, hey, we'll go, because we have fellow enslaved people there, and some of these USCT were freedmen. Some of them were literate. Some of them had organized, and when you see the movie Glory, Harry used to point out, you think that they didn't know how to do anything. They didn't know how to tie their shoes and didn't know how to march, but many of them had already been training in preparation to defend themselves, and then in preparation if they would get an opportunity to fight. So many of them went in already trained and ready to fight. It wasn't like in the movie that they were just needing an officer to teach them everything. So that's another piece of the story. While I enjoyed the movie Glory, I enjoyed more to learn the actual facts that some men were already trained and some men already knew how to fight and were prepared to fight and organized to fight.
Two questions. Why the name Juneteenth? What's the origin of the name Juneteenth?
Well, the 19th, of course, ends with a teen, and then the month of June. Some have claimed that all of the teen days, it led up. I don't know that is factually correct. There were many activities prior to the date of June 19th, but I think the name stuck just because 19th in the teen in the month of June. So,
it's a beautiful name. It's a beautiful, it rings and it flows, so it makes all the sense in the world. And that leads to the real question about, and you've answered this already, but I'll let you come at it again from a different flow. Why is it important? Why is it so important that we educate ourselves, our family, our community, and we actually take on this mission of developing an identity, or have this be one of the reflections of who we are as a people. Our identity is, in fact, encapsulated in the success of the end of slavery and the movement towards freedom. And as I said earlier, we've not fully achieved it, but we're on a path. What do you think?
We're marching toward the absolute equality that is mentioned in General Order Number 3. So Juneteenth celebrates the evolution of our country to a more perfect union. We were not perfect in 1528, which is when Estevanico came into Galveston, or 1619, 1865, or even today, but we're moving toward that more perfect union. So that's one of the reasons we should celebrate. And we also should celebrate because June 19th is the day that our ancestors chose for themselves to celebrate. That was the day they chose before it was popular to become a national holiday, before any elected officials put it on a calendar, before anybody else acknowledged it. They chose for themselves that that was the day that the message of freedom came to them, for many of them that were in Galveston, and then it spread from Galveston. But Juneteenth represents not just that single day, but whenever somebody got the message of freedom in their territory, town, city, or state. So I was thinking about this the other day. People debate, should we celebrate January 1st, Emancipation Day, February 1st for Black History Month, December 18th, 1865 for the ratification of the 13th Amendment, or December 6th. Sometime I see it at different days, but sometime in December. It's kind of like Memorial Day. Memorial Day commemorates those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. Mm-hmm. We know that somebody in the service died on February 13th. Mm-hmm. Somebody died on April 3rd. Somebody died on July 5th. Somebody died October 13th. So all these dates are important to that one individual family, because that's the day they got the news that their loved one got killed in the military, or they found out shortly thereafter. You know, they may have got killed one day and a week or two later they got the message. But the point is, we